Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be attraction, indifference, and being mysterious. I've got an email here from a viewer, and it looks like he's doing quite well by being indifferent and being mysterious, and he's noticing what a dramatic effect it has on the women, some of the women he's been dating and going out with. And it's also helpful, like even if you screw up, to use indifference and being mysterious, how it can help you turn things around. Because you've probably heard me say, if you've been watching my videos for a while, it's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. I give the analogy, it's like playing a game of poker. In essence, what you want to do is, it's like you just hold your cards a little bit longer than the woman does. In other words, you let her reveal her cards first. And at the end of the day, it creates attraction. So I've got a quote that I'd like to share before we get into this guy's email. Women love men who are mysterious and hard to figure out. When a woman is uncertain of where she stands with you, it causes her to think about you more and want you more than a guy who is predictable and boring. This engages her emotions and causes attraction because she is able to feel your strength. Women are physically designed to receive a man. When you are mysterious and she feels your strength, it causes her to want to be filled up with you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. That's why when a guy over-pursues, chases too much, does too much, in essence what's going on is he's acting like a woman. And since he's blowing up her phone and texting her all the time, there's never any time that lapses in order for her to be present with her own emotions and her own feelings to figure out what she thinks and what she really feels about you. So let's get into this guy's email. He says, "Hey coach, a female friend suggested me to check out your videos a while ago, and I see time and again that you are right on. Well, I might not always be right, but I'm never wrong. A couple of examples. Hanging out with a flirty married chick, but the fact that I knew that there was no long-term potential gave me the I don't give a shit attitude about this girl, and that had her wrapped all around my finger. And she's a solid 8, maybe a 9, and many guys are after her. She flat out said, I don't know what it is about you, but I want to rip your clothes off." That's just an amazingly powerful experience. Because if you're dating a girl and you've been dating her for several months and her interest really doesn't seem to be going anywhere, like when I talk to guys, usually a big part of it is they're pursuing too much. And I've just found over the years of having talked to thousands of people and using it in my own personal life that when a guy does more than 20 to 30% of the calling, texting, pursuing, it is too much. He's never giving her the time and space away from him. Because sometimes you might be texting back and forth with a girl, she's calling you every day, and all of a sudden it just completely stops and you don't hear from her for 2 or 3 days. Now the average guy thinks, well, something's wrong, I got to chase her, I got to call her, I'm going to see what's up. And so he starts questioning, hey, I haven't heard from you, what's up, what's going on? And what's happening is he's unsure of himself. Whereas if he had confidence and he had experience with women, he would know that, well, maybe she's busy, maybe she got bored, she'll be back. And then 2 or 3 days later, she calls. And the interesting thing is, maybe the last time you're talking, you can tell she wasn't as enthusiastic, wasn't carrying the conversation as much. And now you hear from her 2 or 3 days later, and she's a lot more enthusiastic. She's a lot more receptive and a lot more open to see you. Why? Because she's had time to wonder about you, to think about you. And sometimes women will purposely just not call you to see what the hell you're going to do next. So he says, it's like, I remember so many different times, like where I've had a girlfriend call me, and it's like, especially like when they, after about week 7, week 8, when they're just totally gonzo falling in love, and they're like, hey, I'm in the area, I want to stop by your office. She's like, sure, babe, come on by. She comes by, closes the door, sits down, chats, and she goes, oh, one more thing. And she gets up, comes over the other side of my desk, and just fucking grabs me and starts making out with me. I mean, it just feels so awesome when a woman is like that aggressive. And it's just like what he was saying here, where she says, I don't know what it is about you, but I want to rip your clothes off. In other words, she's like, I want you inside of me. And that, in essence, is what She is communicating because she's had enough time, she's had enough resistance. And it's also like when you're having sex with a woman and she's on top and she says, I want you to come now. And she's like, are you going to come? I'm about to come. And you're like, yeah, baby, keep going. And then she just fucking has an orgasm and goes bananas and screams and moans and ecstasy. And she's like, you didn't come yet. I was like, oh, I'm almost there, baby. Don't stop. Keep going. And then so she keeps going. A few months later, are you there? I'm close, baby. Don't stop. She's like, oh, my God, I think I'm going to come again. Are you about to come with me? I was like, yeah, I'm almost there, baby. She's like, oh, you didn't come. And she just keeps going. And you can give a woman multiple orgasms because even though she says she wants you to come, what she really wants is she wants to feel your strength to resist her. And if you've never tried that when you're having sex with them, I promise you, dude, you get her on top and you do that because a lot of women's like, oh, I want you to come with me. Well, it's kind of like, this is what I want you to do. That's more of an assertive type of thing, and that's more something that a man would say. And as the man, maybe you're not ready to come yet. Maybe you want to wait. It's your fucking choice. At the end of the day, that's what she wants to feel. She wants to feel your strength. She wants to feel your ability to resist her. And that's part of like when a woman she's blowing up your phone, all of a sudden she stops, and you know you didn't do anything wrong and that your game is tight. Sometimes that's what happens. Even you can be together as a serious couple, then all of a sudden she doesn't call you for a few days. It's good. It's a nice change. It's nice when you don't hear from her for 2 or 3 days, and then she calls you and she's even more excited to talk to you than the last time, because sometimes you go away for a 3 or 4 day week and you spent like 24/7 together. I mean, you're gonna get a little bored with each other. I mean, it happens. And so as long as you're cool with it, you don't come completely unglued, and then 2 or 3 days go by and she's going bananas and she wants to see you again. But the average guy never gets to experience that because he feels so insecure and he feels so worried and he feels so full of doubt that she's going to leave him or reject him or not want to be with him that he starts chasing. And then she might be receptive and they might get together, but what happens is over the course of a couple weeks, it's like the power flips. And then the next thing you know, the guy's doing 70 to 80% of the pursuing and she's hardly reaching out at all. And you ask her to do something, she's like, oh, I can't, I'm kind of busy, but maybe next week sometime. And you can noticeably tell that something is different. But the average guy, like I said, doesn't really experience when you just give her that space and that time away from you, how fucking absolutely powerful it is. And how, like some women, they get pissed off at this, but I mean, it's just the facts of life. It's just the way they work. I didn't design women. If you've got a problem with it, talk to the big man upstairs. He said, we were hooking up on a regular basis, but finally, when she couldn't find her phone one morning after staying the night, she called her husband on my phone. That's probably didn't end too well. He says he found out she was lying about what she was doing. They broke up. And then the idea, and listen to what he says he did next. He says, and then the idea popped in my head that we could actually have a relationship. So you were hanging out, having fun and hooking up, and then you got all up in your head and your mind, and instead of being in the present moment, just having a good time and having sex with her, you're like, okay, where do I bring up the relationship part? Where do I get to corral her into being exclusive with me? If you just keep hanging out, having fun, and hooking up, when she falls in love, she will bring it up. And if you apply what I teach in my book, and you learn all the different ways that the average guy turns women off, and you clean your game up, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. It makes things so easy. You don't really have to do a lot. He says, I started getting insecure about missing out, and I seemed to drift into friend zone. In other words, he started over-pursuing her. He became predictable. He became boring. She was no longer confused or uncertain of where he stood with her. He no longer had the take it or leave it kind of attitude. And the power flipped. And when the power flipped, the roles were reversed, and he started acting more like the woman than she was. And, of course, she lost interest. He says, and I meet a lot of girls online, and one beautiful girl admitted when we got together that I was kind of a jerk about a picture of hers with a mustache and felt like it compelled her to respond. So in other words, he's treating her like a bratty little sister. And he makes a funny comment like, you know, hey, nice mustache, or hey, your hair looks like a bird's nest. What's up with that? It's just some women get pissed off, some women will ignore you, but one with a good attitude and a good sense of humor probably had some brothers that were always fucking with her. Because, I mean, think about it. Your best guy friends, you're always busting on each other, messing with each other, teasing each other, playing jokes on one another. And it's fun to be in a relationship or date women that are like that because you can pretty much say whatever the fuck's on your mind And they don't take it personally because they know that they're hot. They know that they're attractive, and they have a lot of self-confidence, especially if they grew up with brothers that they were really tight with. And big brothers only do that because they love her and they care about her. And I learned this from a girl that I dated who had 3 older brothers. I watched how they all interacted in her, and they called her out on her bullshit, and they would mess with her, and sometimes they would take it a little bit too far, and they could see the look in her face like it really hurt her feelings, and they would just grab her, pull her in, and hug her and kiss her, and she'd be smiling. It was just because they could tell. And I learned so much in that relationship. He says, I do have a question about her, maybe 2 questions. The second question first. Our second date was fairly late, and a friend started blowing up my phone with texts about something which she noticed. And I didn't think we were hitting it off as well as the first date, but the next day she said she had a dream about me which turned out to be kissing me. He says, could it be effective to have a friend text you on dates to make this girl wonder who wants your attention? It's a scientific fact that women are more attracted to men whose feelings are unclear. And women like guys who are popular with other women. However, women want to feel that they're more special than the rest of the girls that you may be dating, because if you just treat her like she's just another notch in the bedpost, then she's going to really feel like you don't give a shit and you're just blowing sunshine up her ass because you want the pussy. And then that will cause a woman to back away and actually lose attraction for you and get pissed off at you and feel hurt by it. So it's a delicate balance. He says, then that leads to my other question. I feel like I have a good chance with her because she's daydreaming about me. And are they really that hot and cold to text you about dreams one day to be blowing you off a few days later? Well, when a woman reaches out and tells you about that dream, you say, oh, that sounds great. Well, you know what? We should get together. When are you free to meet up next? I want to see you. And then you just make the next date, and then you get off the phone. Where you make the mistake is she reaches out to you, and then you just text back and forth a few times, and then you don't ever ask her to do anything. And then 2 or 3 days later, then you text her, and then you ask her to do something. If she's reaching out to you, because what it does is that when she reaches out and then you set a date, it starts to train her that, oh, if I call him, I'm going to get a date. And that's what you want. You want the woman chasing you, because if she's chasing you, if she's running after you and she can't figure you out, she's never going to dump you. She's not going to get rid of you. He says, it was my same mistake showing insecurity instead of confidence when I was worried I was letting her off the hook. So it's like 2 separate examples. He saw with this other woman he was having the affair with, basically, and obviously this girl he was dating. He starts to pursue too much, she backs off. He says, the other mistake I made with her was not calling her out for basically ignoring texts that I had sent. She showed me her cute nieces the date before, and I sent her a pic the next day. The phone is for setting appointments, so you're getting into BS texting. If you're not setting a date when you text, you shouldn't be texting her at all. He says she admitted to seeing them on the second date, but I didn't call her out on ignoring it. It's a good thing you didn't, because if you did, they would communicate you had a problem with it and you were worried about it. Because think about it. You ever see James Bond sweat? No, he's never fucking worried about anything. Even when a woman says there's no way. There was a great movie that Pierce Brosnan did called The Tailor of Panama. And there's a part where he's hitting on this girl, or I guess she's another spy or something like that. And he's just real forward about, let's you and me get together kind of thing. She's like, oh, it's never going to fucking happen. He's just, in his attitude, he's like, whatever. I'm going to be balls deep in your ass later on. And that's kind of his fucking attitude. He's very cocky, and he's charming, but he's also certain of himself, and he acts with certainty in how he goes about things. And of course, they end up hooking up in the movie. It's a great movie because Pierce Brosnan does a fantastic job of acting like a man is supposed to act. So, I think what you're doing is great, because now you're seeing the effect of your behavior and how it has a positive effect or a negative effect on her level of attraction for you. And that's what's beautiful about seeing this, is you learn to find your balance. So if you got some questions or you got challenges and you'd like to get my help, go to my website, click the products tab, and book a paid phone session. I'll talk to you soon.